don't know about you. I'm just glad I got somebody to ask for help. How about you? Aren't you glad that you can go to God and say, I can't figure this out. I'm making a mess here. I have less money this week than I had last week and the month before. God getting better. What don't I know? If you want to look good, you'll never do that. I think you got to be willing to look like you don't know anything, if that's what it takes to win. Because see, it keeps killing your pride and it keeps killing your high-mindedness. See, God designs a place where you can get in the right way. He designs it so you have to humble yourself because He's training you. Humility is what God can work with. He can't work with arrogance. He has to work with humility. I think a humble person can get out of anything. I really do. If you don't believe me, curse the cop next time he stops you, or be nice and let me know how it comes out. Okay? A lot of people lowered themselves and avoided tickets and troubles and things like that by humility. Humility is a great trait. And the Bible says that Jesus made Himself of no reputation. See, if you don't have humility, like when you follow God, you're going to look misunderstood and wrong. And so if you don't have humility, you won't obey because you don't want to look bad in front of everybody. So the lack of humility is controlling your behavior in your situations. Did anybody hear? Lord, help me word that so it can be heard again. If you won't humble yourself and look like a fool, you'll be prideful, but you'll not get what you need to get out. God always makes a way of escape, period. If He doesn't, then He's a liar. And God is not a liar. Everything He said is true. And the way up is truly down. If you want to get out of your situation, you must go down. Down is so cool. We've got it all backwards. We think standing upright and being something is cool, and I think down is the best. He said in Scripture, this is not my message, by the way. He said in Scripture, but it is a message. Okay, it's not the message I got on his paper, but it is a message. He said it's better to sit in the back of the room and be called to the front. Amen. But don't sit in the front of the room and have to be sent to the back. That's the other side of that coin. Now, what I thought was really cool, and I've learned this, I told you this in other sermons. I remember people saying, it looks like you don't want to succeed. Well, it's because I keep pouring water on the altar so when the fire comes, I know it's God. Because see, once I know it's God, I'm good. But until I know that, I don't have any confidence that I need. Does anybody like that in here? I got to know. I got to know. But once I know, the strength comes to not look back. And see, that's so important to me because I really believe whatever level of success that I'm having with God is because I wait till I know before I go. And then I never assume that I know everything at all. I always wait for adjustments. Adjustments. Because see, when He tells you something, you don't really understand it all. You got to wait till you get pieces of information to walk with God. I'm telling you how I walk with God here, if you care. I'm revealing to you, I'm not that you got to be me and you got to be like me. I'm revealing to you how I've navigated. Slowly, but I don't have to back up. Did you hear that? I don't have to go redo things. Very rare. I'll do it if I have to and I don't like it. It's kind of like fixing a car twice. You know, you paid somebody to fix it and they got to fix it 3 times before you get it back. Nobody likes that. If you do it walking with Him, you don't have to back up. Which actually saves you the time of a constant redos. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to start this business, I'm going to do this business, I'm going to do... It's a redo every time. You're 65 and it's all redos. If you walk with Him, it is a sure footing. It's just slower than you like, but what you don't understand, when you got to go redo it 10 times, it takes so much longer to do it 10 times than it does to do it once slow. Once slow is really cool. You take your time. And see, the devil tries to create, boy, I got a totally different message for this one I had last week. The devil tries to create anxiety. Right then is when he attacks you. Like when you decide to walk with God, you're going to run out of time, you're going to get your house evicted, you're going to lose your wife's leaving you, everything's going to go bad. And you start trying to fix it. He threatens you the whole time you're using your faith. That's when all the threats come. You'll die before you learn anything. It's the long way. Go to the doctor, get a message. You'll lose that house. The whole point is you're using all the principles that create all that. And until you arrest it and say, no more, I'll die on this mountain, but I'm not getting off. That you have what it takes to see, your goal is to back up the demonic power. And if you respond to the demonic power, you become part of it. Your kid won't talk to you no more. Okay. I still can't do that. I still can't compromise that, because if I don't obey God, I don't have a shot at all. You'll lose them. You know how I always say this all the time. Whatever you compromise to keep is what you lose. People do not have to like you. They don't. Most of them won't anyway. Remember, it was a love you today, hate you tomorrow with Jesus. They killed him one day, and the next day, the day before was Hosanna. And anytime you do something that's contrary to what else somebody wants, you're no good. And you have to accept that and be willing to live with being no good, especially if you're a dad. They'll thank you later. If you wait long enough, they'll thank you. You have to wait. You have to wait. Even at work, do you realize God shapes your character at work, and He allows you violations that people don't let happen now? They get attorneys. We've interrupted God's system of training by fighting for our rights. We can't stand to be violated. And yet, life is one big violation, is it not? What do you do with your violations determines what you get to do next. The Scripture says when he reviled not again. When he suffered, he didn't threaten, but he committed himself to him who judges righteously. So, if we're going to be like Jesus, we're going to undergo the suffering and the threats, but we're still going to do the right thing. Not try to work the system and manipulate it so we can get what we want. Anybody here? You have to decide. See, God has to purge you from all that. That's the purging process. He even allows you to be violated so you can grow up. If you fight for your rights all the time, and now they give you your way, so you really don't learn what the principles in Scripture, you learn how to get what you want by manipulation. God's answer is no, and anytime He says yes, but if you break the protocol, no, to get your needs met, because you don't like the authority chain He's using, even though it's established in Scripture, you don't learn the lesson you need to learn. You just got to keep running the lesson over. And then you wonder why problems last 18, 20, 25 years. It's because you stepped outside the system that changes it when you obey. And so you have to keep recycling the same issue. I mean, it's kind of like being in a desert for 40 years, That's what they did. They refused to break. They didn't want to listen to Moses. They didn't want to. That's all. They just didn't. They go do stuff, go to war when they weren't supposed to. All the stuff they did because they thought independently instead of obediently. Prolonged every battle they had. Oh my, I had no idea I was going to talk about all this stuff. That's not in these notes at all. Not even close. You got to do it God's way for it to work out. And the coolest thing about God is when you obey Him and you start to break. This is the coolest thing that ever happened to me when I really broke, not when I just did the motions. Well, see, He knows the difference. You don't make God happy because you took out the trash. You're supposed to. And you can't appease Him. You have to submit to Him. Isn't it funny? A submitted person can make all kinds of mistakes and he's still okay. But a person who performs and doesn't change his heart, you're still not okay. And He knows the difference, and most people don't, but God knows the difference. God wants a certain brokenness. And then when you break, this is so cool. After you break in an area and you run a little while, all of a sudden He fast tracks you in that situation and you get the house you wanted, or you get something done that you wanted. You get something, He takes care of something you can't take care of. That's how you know it's Him. All of a sudden, He'll fix it in a moment. And it's because it took you all that breaking time was the preparation so He could do it. And if you're going to let Him be your dad, He's going to know the timing. And how you act in between the timing side part and it becoming done is what makes you qualify. Silent in here. Took me a long time to articulate that. Maybe it's not a big deal to you, it's a big deal to me. I learned those lessons with a high cost. Those were hard lessons. I'm giving you stuff that took time. Took time. I'm thinking of those engineers over there. That one guy, he'd been there 30 years, I think, when it started. He's been through all the owners and everything, okay? And he's still there. What am I going to tell him? Hey, Al, what do you think? Come here. I was a student, and yet he's still, I'm the leader, but I'm the student. It's one thing to lead people that are under you, but it's another thing to lead people who are much smarter than you. So anyway, don't worship what you want. Worship God till He changes you so you can get what you want. And trust me, when you want it, it will not be as valuable as it was when you thought you had to have it. Something happens to you and you find out it's not as valuable as what you thought. Because you thought, if I can get this, it'll be better. If I can get this to happen, or if I can get her to do this, it'll improve. And see, that's not how it improves at all. It improves by an interior change. Romans chapter 4. Okay, this is like one of the faith scriptures. So anyway, I'm going to try to stick something in this short period here. Okay, find the cornerstone, Romans 4:17. We're just going to read that. As it is written, I have made thee the father of many nations. Now you could say, as it is written, I told you were going to have a music ministry. As it is written, I told you were going to be in business. As it is written, I told you were going to have a real estate business. As it is written, you're going to be a youth leader. As it is written, okay? Just stick in there what you're thinking, okay? Before Him who believed even God, who quickeneth the dead. That means your marriage could be dead, your finances could be dead, your vision could be dead. Everything about your life can look dead and impossible. Okay? Dead and impossible. That's what you got here. Hallelujah. Good word, God. And calleth those things which be not as though they were. Now, I know you've heard this said before. If you say what you have, that's what you'll have. Okay? But the difference is, and I'm going to move you past being mechanical into actually what works. You have to get to know the Word and know God well enough that you actually believe it, not just say it. Because talking without faith doesn't work. That's why nobody wants to talk, because they really never took the time. Faith, like I said earlier, faith comes where the will of God is known. And if you want to know the will of God, you have to read this, because this is the will of God. And then there's a rhema word for your life that tells you what you're supposed to do. But if He told you what you were supposed to do and you never read this, you're not going to get there anyhow, because you don't have the information you need. This is the eternal Word of God, never changing at all. Every principle in it works. Every principle in it. But you have to take the time to read it. And those of you, please don't throw your shoes at me, that think you're just going to be a good person and obey God the best you can, and you're going to get what you got coming. You're dreaming. You are dreaming. First of all, the Bible says the Bible is, the New Testament is the last, remember the old Bibles, the real old King James, it says the last will and testament of the Lord Jesus Christ. That means it's His will. You die, you give a will. Jesus died, he gave a will, and He became back to be the executor because He's raised from the dead. If you don't read it, the devil can steal your inheritance all the time because you don't know what's yours. So if you don't read it, you just keep believing this false thing that it's all going to work out, but you don't know that he's stealing your inheritance. He stole your car. He stole your money. He stole your fuel. He stole your appliances. He stole everything because you didn't know they were in the will. So if you don't read the will, all your relatives can steal your money because you didn't read the will. You know what they did? My brother, he got to have that. Did you read the will? If you don't have a will to read, you don't know what you got coming. But Jesus put it down on paper. So you have to know fundamentally what it is. Hallelujah. Who hoped against hope and believed in hope that he might be called the father of many nations. According to what was spoken, so shall your descendants be. In other words, what I said to you, Abraham, is exactly how it's going to come out. So Abraham believed God above everybody else. I'll say this, I don't like saying it, but because it's history. When I was learning this lesson, no joke, my mother, my wife, and my sister, all of them standing toe-to-toe with me. My dad is dead. There's really nobody to talk to much. I'm kind of lonely. And my mother says, you're crazy. You don't know what you're doing. My sister said I was totally wrong. And my wife said, you've gone too far with God. You don't know what, you're crazy. They all thought I was crazy. And I had to look at all three of them. That's the only people I got in my life that I love at that time that was close to me. And I had to tell them, all three of them, I said, you all can do whatever you want to do. As for me, I'm sticking with God, so you guys got to all work it out. I'm telling you, this is important. If I would have gave in to them, none of this would be here and neither would Palau. It was a turning point that, Simon Peter, do you love me more than these? It was my turning point. And it had to be tested with the people that I loved the most. Because no man who loves father, brother, sister more than me is fit for the kingdom. Now, I couldn't quote all this to you back then because I didn't know the difference. All I knew was my heart was broken. Have you understand when your heart's broken, sometimes you don't know anything else other than you're just trying to breathe? But as time went by, God began to reveal to me what He was doing and what was happening. I had a decision to make. Do I love God more than I love even my own family? Now, believe it or not, that's a necessary ingredient. Because, see, He saved my family. Because I did it, He saved my family. See, that's what I mean by whatever you think the devil's threatening you with, you're going to lose. You'll lose it if you act on what He says. If you obey God, you get to have it. So those of you who have businesses out in your future, dreams out in your future, and things you want to do, every time you compromise and don't take a stand, it goes 100 miles further away. And you're not allowed to get mad at them if they don't agree with you. Might hurt you, but you're not allowed to be resentful, not allowed to hurt them, not allowed to say mean things to them and try to hurt their feelings. You have to suck it up, being a Christian adult, and say, I'm going to do what the Bible said. When he was reviled, he reviled not again. When he suffered, he didn't threat it, but he committed it to him. God is transferring your trust from what you think to what He said. It's a transfer. You're transferring where your faith is, and you're putting it in the guy who can do something about it. And you got to trust Him to do that. That was a hard time. Hard time. Hard time. Nobody. I'm thinking I need the people who love me to agree with me. Guess what? That don't always happen. That don't always happen. It takes time. Now my wife's a preacher, prophet preacher, prophesies to you guys. Does all kinds of stuff. I would have ruined it. If I'd have gave in to demonic oppression, I would have ruined our future. Very challenging, isn't it? Because we all got places where the devil keeps pushing us. It sounds so hard. It's not. It's the devil. What did he do to Eve and Adam? If Adam didn't go with Eve, he was going to lose Eve. If he'd have run the devil off, he'd have got to keep it all. He took the most precious thing, which was his wife, and pretty much got her going in the wrong direction. And instead of Adam taking a stance, he went with his wife. And God told him, because you have listened to the voice of your wife, cursed will be the ground for your sake. You got to love God more than you love anybody or anything. Now, I'm telling you, I could talk all day because I told you I just dropped in. You know how it is, you just fell in the vein. I hope I don't fall off this platform. Look down, toes right off. But anyway, if you got to love God more than you love anything, because the devil will always use what you love to take you out. It hurts so bad. I'm telling you, this is a fight. And fights ain't fair. They're not fair. The people you love is what the devil attacks to take you out. And in my house, when we all lived together with the kids home, Jody was the youngest. The devil always went for the weakest link to control where the house was going to go. You understand? He finds he finds out where he can get in, and he'll use what you love to take you out of the will. Sometimes you just got to, if your wife don't go to church, get yourself up and get to church and take the kids with you. If your wife don't go, if your husband don't go, get up. Get them cleaned up, get in the car, and take them to church. If you think you're going to win by staying home and go, I don't feel like going either, it's over. You've just opened the door for nonsense. I like all the doors shut, all the hatches battened down, and I don't like no snakes squeaking in through a crack that I left open. I believe in devil-proof in your life. Remember, he's seeking who may destroy. That means he just can't do it because he wants to. He has to find an opening. It says he goes about as a roaring lion. That means, that door's shut. That door, hey, look here, the crack's open. Compromise. The devil's a liar. I'll preach the sermon next time you see me. I'll preach the sermon the next time you see me, because we didn't get to that one. I believe God is giving you wisdom to fight. You can pass out the communion elements, guys. God's giving you wisdom to fight. I used 13 minutes. I'm sorry. You aren't going to charge me, are you? We're going over. Okay. Amen. I believe I'm helping you navigate successfully to victory. It's about victory. It's not about compromise. Can't you see the Bible is loaded with, we believe our God will deliver, but even if He doesn't, we're not giving in, we'll just die. You have to be that committed to it that if you don't get out, you still won't switch. And that takes time getting to know God. We don't watch, we'll play it conservative and try to keep everything, and we'll lose everything. I come from fear-based people. It's a funny thing about life. My dad climbed bridges, built bridges, go up 50 stories and walk on steel, but he lived in fear of the things of life, like we were all going to get killed and stuff like that. Isn't it funny? He was so courageous and so male, but deep down in him, there was a fear of life all the time. He always made reference points as, well, something will go wrong. You would think somebody who had that much courage, but see, he didn't know God. He had courage, but he didn't have the knowing God courage, the trusting God courage. There's a difference. Isn't it funny? You can look so strong and courageous and yet have an Achilles heel because you don't know God like you should. Well, Jesus reconciled us. That's why he said, remember me. In other words, I'm the one that's connecting you back to God. I'm the one that is going to take the punishment for all your sins in a little while. When he's talking to his disciples, he was trying to, he couldn't tell them everything, but he was trying to tell them. You talk about being misunderstood. You're trying to have communion with people who aren't on your level. See, that's how you know what love is. Their discussion, betrayal. I mean, he says the guy who dips his in, he's the guy that's going to betray me. That was his goodbye party. A betrayal. Everybody's going to run away, and he's trying to be in fellowship with him, Pastor James. He's trying to be with him, and they're all going to run away, and he knows it. He's trying to have what little bit of fellowship he can. That's how valuable you are. He really does love you. He fellowships with you when you hardly can't. He said, I'm never going to leave you. I will never forsake you. If your mama leaves you, I'm not leaving. What kind of love is that he can love people that ain't even close to what you need them to be? See, that's why I tell you, nobody ever loved me like that. That's why I love him. There's a gratitude you get when you understand that he loved you like you were. And he said, you may break the bread. He said, do this in remembrance of me. I believe that was part of the memory. Because when they got past that, could you imagine as they walked with him, how they felt? When they looked back at that night, how squirrely they were and embarrassed they were about themselves. No matter how much it cost, I'm free to give it all. You may take the bread. I'm so glad for a minstrel. They don't play music. They play an atmosphere. They don't play music at all. They have an atmosphere they create with their gifts.